Greensboro, North Carolina native Robyn Schon has been in the entertainment facility management business for close to 30 years, about 17 of those at the Beglund Center, formerly the Roanoke Civic Center. She started as a receptionist at the Greensboro Coliseum. Then it was on to Detroit, working at the Joe Louis Arena and for the NHL's Detroit Red Wings. After a stop in Atlanta to work for a minor league hockey team, she came to Roanoke in 1998. Schon likes to write, paint, sing, and ride her motorcycle. 4 years ago, she became general manager at what is now the Beglund Center. Robyn Schon, welcome to the interview.
Good morning.
First question, are your people required to drop $1 in a bottle or a jug if they call it the Roanoke Civic Center?
Oh yeah, right in, yeah, it's got my face on the front of the jar. Just drop it in. It's great that we're the Beglund Center. It's going to take a while to get used to it. I think I answered my phone yesterday one time. Roanoke Civic Center.
Yeah.
And it's just, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, Beglund Center. So it's going to take us a while. I think one of the things that's going to help us to integrate the name into our vernacular is once the signs are up. Because right now we still see Roanoke Civic Center everywhere, but in the next 2 months there's going to be a total overhaul and conversion of everything. So once we start seeing that image and it's in front of us all the time, I think we'll have an easier time saying Beglund Center.
Vicki Arias sent me the new logo, the Beglund Center logo, so you're going to put that up on the buildings? And
absolutely, and on the marquees, which new marquees got installed and turned on yesterday. They look awesome.
Now the marquees, these are the ones that are using LED technology, so you're saving a lot of money on... Talk about how much money you're saving on electricity. It's crazy.
Oh my goodness. We spend well over $1 million in utilities every year. And
for the whole complex?
For the whole complex. And we had over 10,000 incandescent bulbs on both of those marquees. That's about 160,000 watts burning all the time. And this is cutting that about 65 to 70%. So we're hoping after 1 year we can do comparisons and we'll see how much money this has actually saved us. But that's just the first of conversion to LED because we're changing the Coliseum lights to LED too.
The overhead lights?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's huge. That's 180 lamps in there that are 1,500 watts apiece. And that's a lot of money. I mean, I did a calculation once that if I turn the Coliseum lights on at 8 a.m. and I turn them off at midnight, that's a $400 day in that one room, and that's not counting the heating, air conditioning, and the stress that puts on the system. They really do. Yeah. They're probably not going to thank me once we start trimming the bill.
I'm just imagining all these maintenance guys unscrewing 160,000 bulbs or something.
Oh, and the bulbs are they're huge.
So it's like this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Massive.
Now, talk about the Beglund Center. You're the Beglund Center now. Beglund is paying a certain amount of money for the naming rights for 10 years.
Yes.
And what's that money going to help enable the Beglund Center to do?
Well, it's doing a lot. It's helping us specifically on the bottom line because, as you're aware, the city subsidizes our facility like they do most venues like ours across the country, even ones that are privately owned tend to lose money. Ours is no different. And why do you continue to fund a building that's losing money? Well, there are a lot of reasons. The economic impact is one. Can you imagine if the doors closed and we boarded up the windows at the Roanoke Civic Center? Then we would unemploy about 400 people. And all the business right around us would suffer too. But
not to mention quality of life and the need to bring entertainment into the valley, that type of thing.
Quality of life is huge. I mean, most cities our size aren't fortunate enough to have a venue like ours or a theater. They have to drive a ways. But each year, until Global Spectrum came in, we lost a minimum of $1.2 million. And what that means is our expenses exceeded our revenue by $1.2 million. And that also includes some debt service too on the facility because some of it's not quite paid for. But the city had to subsidize that, and that comes directly out of the taxpayer's wallet. Global Spectrum came in January 2009. Very aggressive company, very modern, and in their approach to doing business. All I have to do is say I'm with Global Spectrum, and they're listening. So they're booking events, and more people are coming to the building because it was, the new thing to do. And we keep making it new. We keep refreshing and adding the Beglund Center name and doing some capital improvements. It's just one more reason why people want to come. But at the end of the day, this money's going to hit the bottom line, which has been trimmed down to about $600,000 a year. So Global Spectrum's been effective at trimming that subsidy and easing up the taxpayers' burden on the taxpayers. So that extra money, and I don't want to say it's not really extra money, but it's additional money, can now be reinvested in the facility. And
which is 40-something years old, correct?
It's 43 and a half years old. And
Right.
if you look at the construction time, just add a couple more years on that. So you've got seats in there that are 45 years old, and stonework that needs attention and sidewalks that need to be replaced. The list is endless. I could do a capital list that would take me into the next 10 years comfortably. Right now my capital list is another 5 years, and we're into year number 3 of the initial 5-year capital improvements. So it's a very exciting time in that venue's history, and we're glad to be a part of it. I know that there's so many great things to come, and I hope that people will support what we're trying to do because it's their venue.
Now, do you actually work for Global Spectrum?
I do now.
Okay.
For the first 11 years that I was at the Civic Center,
Right.
I was a city employee.
Okay.
The city owns the facility, and they were managing the facility. I worked for them. Then when Global Spectrum came in, we had the option to stay with the city and be placed somewhere else in the city in employment, or go with Global Spectrum. Well, it's all I've ever known. This is my 4th venue.
Right.
I started working in venues, entertainment sports venues, when I was 19 years old.
Right. You were a part-time receptionist at Greensboro Coliseum.
I was.
Which is a huge building. I've been there.
Huge building, and they've changed seats twice in that venue since I was there. So it's more than time to change it here. But yeah, part-time receptionist. And I used to doodle cartoons because I love art, and the advertising director asked me if I'd be interested in helping her create ads for events, and I said sure, I'll do that. So that part-time job led to a full-time job, and it also bled over into booking. So I got my first taste of what it's like to put together contracts and negotiate contracts, and I was very much a sponge back then. And then from there I went to Detroit.
Right.
Boot camp.
Right.
That was
Now,
boot camp.
you worked at Cobo Hall and the Joe Louis Arena. You actually worked for the National Hockey League's Detroit Red Wings at one point.
I did. I have a funny little story there. Detroit Red Wings. So I'm at Joe Louis Arena, which it was definitely boot camp. It was a wide and rude awakening, but it was the best experience of my life, the best education. So I'm there about a month, and my boss comes to me and says, "Hey, we need you to work the hockey games." And I said, "Doing what?" Well, you're going to help with marketing and promotions, and you'll help coordinate the music that's in between the plays. I said, I don't know anything about, hockey. I come from basketball country in North Carolina.
Right.
So he said, well, it's a lot like basketball, but it's on ice. So I get up there, and I'm griping to the guy who was the announcer, Bud Lynch, and he's famous, but I had no clue who I was working with.
The PA announcer?
The PA announcer. He'd been there for many, many years, and there was also Dave Strader, who was with ESPN, Mickey Redmond, who used to play with the Red Wings, and also Mitch Albom. Now, Mitch Albom was just a writer for the Detroit Free Press.
Right.
This was before he wrote Tuesdays with Maury and 5 People You Meet in Heaven. I didn't know that he wrote more than sports, but all 5 of us were in just a little line there, and I'm doing music, and I said, Bud, I cannot believe he's making me work this hockey game. It's just ridiculous. I don't like sports, and blah, blah, blah. And about the 6th game, Bud says, I thought you said you didn't like hockey. And I said, I don't like this game. He then said, then stop hitting the counter and swearing every time they miss a goal. And I was like, I don't say dirty words.
Yeah.
But that was the beginning of a crazy addiction. I love hockey, and that was more than 20 years ago. So I'm definitely a Detroit Red Wings fan. I'm still a big fan of Detroit, and I hope that somebody injects some love into that city because it's amazing. And
yeah, I've always wanted to go to a hockey game there. They call it Hockey Town,
it's
USA.
Hockey Town, USA.
And
yes.
I actually got to meet Gordie Howe.
Me too.
Did you?
Yeah.
I figured that.
That was a highlight.
I met him in Toronto at a trade show, and I shook his hand. His hands are about this thick. Then you worked for a while in Atlanta with the minor league hockey team there.
I did. What got me out of Detroit was some things in the family. My father passed away, and one of my sisters had the first baby in her family in like 20 years. So I just felt this need to be home, be closer to family. But as family is, that was a short-lived desire. I've got to get away from these people. They're all crazy.
Oh yeah.
So. I got a call from some folks in Atlanta saying, hey, we've got a new IHL team, which was International Hockey League at the time. We're in the inaugural season, or the inaugural season is approaching, and we need some preseason help. Would you be interested? So I went down for a couple of weeks to help them out, and then I was offered a full-time job. That lasted about a year. The team was sold and moved to Ottawa. Now I love Canada, but not enough to call it my home.
Right.
So I just kind of floundered for a little while until the opportunity came up in Roanoke.
You think, You were back here when the heyday of the Express were here,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Frank Anzalone, the coach, slam dunking, doing the PA,
Yes.
the big crowds coming for Hampton Roads,
it's
John
amazing.
Brophy.
John Brophy.
And that's when I first moved down here, and hockey was really going at the Coliseum, the Beglund Center. Do you think we'll ever see pro hockey back here again? I mean, what would it take, Robyn, to put pro hockey back in the Coliseum?
Sure. Well, I have, a lot of philosophies on hockey. Do I want hockey back? Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what drew me here. I knew that Roanoke was the right place for me because it had a hockey team, it had ice.
Right. And Virginia Tech plays there now.
And Virginia Tech
right.
plays there. Radford plays there. We have a lot of youth hockey programs, which is, near and dear to my heart and our owner's heart of Global Spectrum and Comcast Spectacor. But it's going to take a unique combination of things. Here's what I say makes a great hockey team on a local level. One, you got to have the right owners. They can't be absentee owners. They cannot be living in upstate New York and only visit Roanoke once every month to see how their team's going. They need greater supervision, but also as a local now myself, I like to have a face on what I'm dealing with. I don't want to make a phone call and communicate strictly by email because there's so many things, the dynamics of a hockey club change daily. The second thing is we need owners who have a little bit of a deep pocket. They have to go into it not with the assumption that they're going to make money the first year, maybe even the second year, but by the third year they could have built up their season ticket base and they could get their name out there. They've branded it, they've built some excitement about it, and by that time they've created a rock star out of one or two of their players. The third thing that they need is a great and comfortable ticket price. It needs to be relative to this market. We're a price-sensitive market.
Very, very price-sensitive. I saw that even when the Express added the parking ticket fee to the ticket instead of taking it out in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And it basically doubled the parking fee, and then
it was awful.
Yeah.
It was awful. So there were a lot of moves that were made that should not have been made. At that time, I was a little bit more timid to voice my opinion. I'm not timid anymore.
Not no more.
Not anymore, because I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about, making sure that we provide a diverse lineup of events there. Part of that is in hockey. So we are constantly in discussions. And when I say constantly, I do mean, hockey, the subject of hockey will go away for 2 or 3 months, and then I'll get a phone call from somebody or an email from somebody interested. I'm always open to meeting with them, giving them a tour of the facility, getting them excited about what's getting ready to happen in that facility. The dressing room hallways getting, remodeled, and the ice plant getting refurbished, and a new refrigeration system to make better ice. We had really great ice last year, thanks to the city's facility maintenance folks. Good sheet, and we're starting the season solid too. We've got so many wonderful things that could take place in that building if we had a hockey team.
Right.
So I'm open to that. I'm having discussions with a local person right now who does have relatively deep pockets. He loves the game. He knows people in the business, and we're going to see what happens.
There's a lot of transplants here now, maybe more than 15 years ago. There's a lot of Northerners, people that maybe it would be better supported if the team came too.
I think so too.
Got a couple minutes left. I want to just, mention a couple things. You're really a Renaissance woman. You like to paint, you like to write, you sing in the church choir.
Yeah.
You ride motorcycles.
Yeah. Love it.
Just creative outlets for you?
I have to have creative outlets. I, blame it on Dr. Seuss. I started writing poetry when I was little, and it just blossomed from there. But I have to have creative outlets because so many hours during the day I'm wrapped up in numbers and business and conversations. I still get to be very creative with the Civic Center, even if it's just picking out carpet or paint right now. I'm having a good time with my job, and I hope that translates well over into my staff, because I think my staff has a passion for it too. I have a really good team of people working with me right now. I call them co-workers, not subordinates, because you have to be closer than a boss and employees the way we work. September through April, we are in each other's face. We're practically sleeping in that venue, so we have to like each other. By April, we're ready to kill each other. Yeah.
Just to wrap up here, Beglund Center is after the renovations will be good for another 30, 40 years?
I think so. After the renovations were set, I'll be...
You'll be good for another 30, 40 years?
I'll be retired in a community around here somewhere looking at the commercials on television, or however we'll be getting our information at that time. But at Beglund Center, they're solid for another 10, probably beyond. We're very, very excited to have them. William Fair on his team of people, Linda Foster, who's worked with me on the deal. This has just been an amazing ride so far. Great people to work with. Very open to our ideas. They already know I talk a lot, and
really,
I know you can tell.
Well, they're telling me to wrap up, so we're going to have to leave there, Robyn.
That's it?
And yeah, that's it. I'm sorry.
Doggone it.
Robyn Schon, great to see you again.
Great
Good
to see
talk
you, Gene.
to you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
This is The Interview. I'm Gene Marrano. We'll be right back.